That's a nice looking piece of hardware. No offense, but it is though. Anyway, I guess we got something to talk about. So without further ado, let's roll that mother effing intro.
Free fall as I die through the kaleidoscope in my mind. No rope up to climb. Gotta remind myself that I'm fine. Mama, I don't really wanna.
What's happening, peeps? Squad. This is something that we got to talk about. I mean, as beautiful, as beautiful as this is, we need to talk about, and we desperately need to discuss the route at which we get to that, who it goes to, and who actually deserves it, which of course, in my opinion, is one and the same for both of those answers. But we also have to talk about who it should not be, and who, in my opinion, who it's not going to be, which of course is my same answer for one and the same in this question. Now, personally, I think it's kind of dumb that you have introduced yet another world title without figuring out what you're going to do with the situation with Reigns, or without having the rectifying outcome in which you deal with Reigns. But I digress. I still like this. Still very much do. Now, first and foremost, we do have to talk about Reigns. The situation with Reigns is somewhat of a unique one, but it's also kind of one and the same with how things have gone in the past, because he is technically now that guy who is at this point going to emulate what has been done in the very distant past. By that, I mean these super long title reigns that used to happen way back in the day. Now, on top of that, Vince is technically getting what he has always wanted within the situation with Reigns and the booking of Reigns. And simply put, that's God mode. That's God mode Reigns. God mode, God tier Reigns. Which, by all accounts, is what everybody likes. Regardless if you cheer or you boo him, you are perfectly fine with the way that he's been booked. On top of that, you're fine with his character. You're fine with the way that the bloodline has been going. You are fine with everything that has gone on as of late with Reigns. Now, granted, there may be a lot of people who do not like the fact that Cody did not win at Mania. 50-50 with me included on that. But at the same time, you're still okay with it, because outside of people booing him, he still turns out to be the guy that you love to hate. You may not hate him completely. You just hate the outcome in which WrestleMania happened. So what happens? What happens? I mean, you've had the benefit of the Usos. You've had the benefit of the Sami Zayn situation. You now have the benefit of the Solo Sikoa situation. Case in point, the Bloodline has basically been the best thing on television for the past year in terms of professional wrestling. And I mean that as far as Bloodline. For pretty much a solid year, the Bloodline has been the it storyline. Yes, Reigns has been building up to this for the past few years, but as a whole, once the whole thing with the Bloodline culminated into exactly what it was meant to be, it was completely off to the fucking races. And you couldn't turn a blind eye to it. And I don't think I could have easily had Cody win and then the Bloodline completely disperse, and that would have been it. But what we're getting now is something that a lot of us did not expect. And that's mainly because a lot of us pretty much would have easily written off the whole Bloodline storyline after Mania anyway, or somewhat after a little bit past Mania. No one would have assumed that it was going to make it to a SummerSlam, to a new Survivor Series, to next year's Mania. Nobody would have even fathomed the thought. But here we are, on the way to at least the first domino onto that Mania, because I personally think it may lead all the way to that, or rather, I believe that that's what they want to happen. How do you get there? Well, it's fairly simple. You continue on this whole distance thing between, Reigns, Heyman, Solo, and then with the Usos on the other side. The thing is, one thing that we haven't gotten and one thing that needs to happen is the fall of Reigns. You need the tribal chief. You need to have that satisfying end, where you get the fall of the final boss, that final boss being Roman Reigns. So what do you do in the meantime? For all my anime lovers out there, this is technically a filler till we get back to the main arc. So what this is now we're building that sandwich, that in-between portion, which is the division within the bloodline, where now you're building up Solo. You're building up Solo so that way, whenever this whole thing comes to a head and the bloodline falls, Solo will be perfectly fine on his own. You're building him as a legit, no pun intended, but as a legit solo act at this point. So how do you do that? You have him take out his brothers. When that happens, we don't know. But at this point, you keep pushing him as the problem solver, as the street champ, as this legit fucking killer. So that way, whenever Roman rides off into the sunset and does his thing for however long he does, away from the WWE, you have Solo being able to stand on his own without having to need Heyman, if Heyman decides not to accompany him anymore, and without having to piggyback off of the Usos, because at some point the Usos are going to have to take a break too. So let's not even assume that they're even still going to be around immediately after. They could be, but I believe that they may take a break as well. So Solo would have to be able to stand on his own. So that's the situation with the bloodline. Now, as far as Reigns, what happens with him? Clearly, he's going to have to lose those titles. So he's going to have to lose. To who? That's still up in the air. I have my personal thoughts, which we'll get into, but one thing that's not going to happen is that Reigns is not winning that. And for the small percentage of people that think that that's going to happen, stop it. Stop that right now. Dead that whole thought completely from your membrane, because it would be foolish. Would it be a fun little thing to comprehend and pretend that it could happen? Yeah, Roman Reigns having the whole, Triple H meme where he has all the belts and that be the belt that's included. But no. This belt is catered to one particular person for the immediate future. I can tell you right now that out of those prospects, I mean, who do we have? That's because it's going to be somebody that's on the Raw roster right now. And as of those prospects who I believe who's going to be competing for that title and who could potentially win it at some point in time, we have a Cody Rhodes. We have a Damian Priest. Yes, Damian Priest. We have a Drew McIntyre. We have a Finn Balor. We have a Gunther. We have a Jinder Mahal. As much as most of you do not want to believe that that's a possibility, we have to understand this. Vincent K. McMahon is still technically in charge. So he likes him some Jinder. So don't be surprised if it tends to happen. But moving on, we also have a Kevin Owens. We have a Kofi Kingston. Yes, this is in alphabetical order. We have a a Matt Riddle, we have a Miz, we have Sami Zayn, we have Seth Rollins, and we have a Shinsuke Nakamura. These are the prospects in which I personally believe could be in the running for winning this title. This, I can tell you right now, for the immediate future and probably for the remainder of this year going into next year, this is going to be your workhorse world championship. That, simply put, this is going to be the this is going to be the post unified WWE World Heavyweight Championship. I'm talking about after Chris Jericho won them. This is going to be the post that unification title WWE Championship. The one that was prominently put on SmackDown and was basically that title. Right before and right after Bischoff reintroduced the World Heavyweight Championship. So the thing is, out of all those guys, we can run those guys down quick. Damian Priest is going to be a future champ. Could it happen sooner? Yes. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but he's still a prospect. You have a Drew McIntyre. Given the fact that he stays, there's a potential that he will win that title at some point, but he definitely will contend for it. Finn Balor, obviously, no brainer. Gunther, at this point, he's going to run down the gauntlet while holding the Intercontinental Championship. So there's no point in him even being put or slotted into that. Now, he may try to be a dual champ, and that's a possibility, which is good for storyline purposes, but he's not going to win that anytime soon. A Jinder, I laugh at it, but it's a potential that could happen. Kevin Owens, obviously, him and Sami Zayn are running the tag division at this point, so they're occupied. But that doesn't mean that they can't pull double duty and try to compete for that title. Kofi Kingston, most people would say that his time is done. He's got his moment and that's it. But I think that there's still some miles on him and he can go for it. Matt Riddle, again, another no-brainer. It's going to happen at some point, but do I think it's going to happen soon? No, I feel like the Intercontinental Championship is more so in line with his future than anything else. But there's still, there's no telling. The Miz, is he deserving? Absolutely, in my honest opinion, as far as from just a longevity standpoint and for paying his dues for the most part. I believe that yes, he would be deserving of that title. In-ring ability, not so much, but that's not what we watched the Miz for anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Sami Zayn, the same thing as Kevin Owens, but at the same time, he didn't get his moment against Reigns. He was able to compete for it, but most people wanted him to win that title. So that means there we go. We now have this. So, and it's not to say that he can't win it. I believe that he can. So now, as you keep Owens and Zayn occupied with the tag titles, this gives time for that title to build up prestige, and then they can compete for it when they inevitably split or decide to say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Go after this. Seth Rollins, come on. First off, before I begin that, Shinsuke, yes, he's going to compete for it. Do I think he's going to win it? Maybe, but the chances are very, very slim, depending on if they book him right. Now, let's go back to Rollins. Rollins. My honest opinion, and basically, I believe maybe 95% of people believe that this is going to be the case. Rollins is not only the person that I believe is going to win, but he's the most deserving. He is the most deserving to take this title, and he should definitely be the one to take this title. As much as he's put in and put people over within the past, I'd say years at this point, there is nobody on that list that I just ran off more deserving than Seth Rollins. Period, point blank, plain and simple. There's nobody else. He's the perfect person, given the fact if you go back to when he won the Intercontinental Championship and he was trying to just defend and be that fighting champ. This is the perfect time to put that title on him and have him set the standard for what this title is meant to be. Everything that Triple H had stated when he introduced that title was everything that Seth Rollins is. Period. Period. Debate me on it if you want to. This is a no fucking brainer. All of you saying that Cody's going to win this, Cody should win this. One, I don't believe he's going to. And two, nor should he. Nor should he. Speaking of Cody, I like Cody. I think Cody is deserving of any world championship. Just not that one. At least not now. At least not now. Look at that face. Look at this face. Does this look like the face of somebody who did what they were supposed to do? This is the face of somebody who did not finish the story. For the past few months, Cody has been touting this whole ideal. Finish the story. Finish the story. Finish the story. He did not finish the story. So what does he do? What does this man do about that situation? It's simple. He doesn't go after the world champion, the World Heavyweight Championship. That's for damn sure. How do you get Cody to this man? This man. How do you get Cody there? Most of you would say, oh, he's on Raw. Roman's on SmackDown. How do you do that? What's going to happen? It's very simple for all the logically thinking people in the world. Money in the bank. Money in the fucking bank. Yes, I know that there, and first off, in my opinion, just like some of you are going to say as I'm saying this, there's a lot of people that is way fucking more deserving of winning Money in the Bank this year. I'm with you. We can run down a few of those prospects just like we did with the World Heavyweight Championship. Simply put, you have a Theory, you have a Lashley, you have an LA Knight. Yeah, you have a Gunther, you have a Damian Priest, you have a Sami Zayn, and you have a Kevin Owens. Those are just a few of the ones that could easily be slotted to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. But at the same time, this is about this man. It's about beating this man. The World Heavyweight Championship will not be a prospect within the whole Money in the Bank conversation. Yes, people will be able to cash in for it, but what I'm telling you is that it is not going to factor in what's going to be the definitive cash in for this year's Money in the Bank. That goes to this man. That goes to this man. Why? Why, Dizzle? Why does this go to Cody? Simple. For booking purposes. To finish the fucking story. Because the thing is, with the whole draft, they're split on different shows. So automatically everybody's like, oh, they're done with this. There's no way now that they're all different shows, he can't compete against that because now they can't have them go back and forth between different shows. Yeah, you can. WWE does it all the time. They do it all the time. But you want to make it make sense. So how do you make it make sense? You have Cody win the briefcase. You give Cody something to do. You give him his own storyline until he gets to that point with Roman. And he's already suited and booted. Tell me he wouldn't look good with the briefcase. Tell me he wouldn't look good with the briefcase. Come on. Cody is going to be the perfect person to win that briefcase this year. He's going to be the most deserving? Not necessarily. But this is a means to an end. And it needs to happen this way. Personally, I brought this up with the guys, I believe, like right after Mania, when we were just brainstorming on everything that could have potentially happened or what is going to happen with Cody. And I thought about this and I was like, yeah, it makes sense. And I literally brought up the whole thing with him having his suit on, having the briefcase, because aesthetically, it makes so much more sense. So what do? You have Cody get that briefcase and you have him hold it for months. And then he's able to cash in around Mania next year to basically right the wrong that was done to him. By this time, I would believe that the bloodline will be in such disarray that Roman would have to stand on his own, where he would be the last remaining person in his own bloodline, unless, you add more people to it. But I think that this will be the crowning moment, one for Cody Rhodes, and the definitive end to Roman's reign, no pun intended. So some of you may be asking, okay, well, that's a long booking situation. What if it gets stale? What if it does get stale? Here's the thing about the briefcase. You can cash in at any time. It is a easy get out of jail free card for WWE, for all the creative team, all the writers, everything. If the story starts to get stale and people are starting getting tired of a Roman being the champ and being like this whole god tier boss mode, just complete OP wrestler, you pull the trigger. You pull the trigger with the briefcase, and then you end that reign earlier than expected. But I don't think that's going to happen. Why? Because that is what this is for. This is to basically cleanse the palate for a lot of people. Because again, you're going to have Reigns sit on this title for the longest. And so what do? You get a palate cleanser that does not involve Cody Rhodes, even though a lot of people think it's going to involve him. You give everybody what they've been waiting for, which is Rollins with the World Heavyweight Championship. And then Reigns can take a break here, take a break there. And then you give Cody the briefcase, which means you have two people, Rollins and Rhodes, who are going to be the leaders of the pack within the future of WWE. And you're setting that up nicely. So you give Rollins his due for everything that he's done over the past few years. And then you set Cody up to take Roman down. So that way, moving forward, you can rebuild on that foundation of a new future for WWE. And there you go. Simply put, that is exactly how things should go, in my honest opinion. Will it happen like that? I don't know. I do not know. But I am damn sure hoping that it does. So, with that said, whether you loved it, hate it, don't forget to rate it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Leave all your comments, concerns, questions down below. Hit that notification bell. Hit that tag that subscribe button. But as always, until you hear this immaculate voice and see this handsome face, I bid you all adieu. And until next time, you beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mother effers, tag the fucketh.
Dollars make a way to make a change. Gotta be insane to make them same mistakes again. So I'm switching lane to lane. Pray the curb don't scrape.